Hello, I am Sonja Rankin, aka Realtor Rankin, and today I wanted to share a little bit of information of the home selling process. So you have a property that you're looking to sell, where do you start? So I have this infographic and this helps us kind of explain the process. Of course, the first thing you want to do is meet with a real estate professional like me. So I'm happy to help you and discuss your needs for this specific sale. Every transaction is different. Every buyer or every seller's need is different. So I'm here to help you navigate through that. So what happens is I come up with a ballpark value for your property. You and I get together and you say, hey, schedule a time where you can give me the grand tour. And the reason for the grand tour is I can't tell you the value, what we should ask for a property if I haven't walked in the door. So you can see so much of condition. If I walk through the door and I see that, well, this is really pristine and this looks better than it did in the pictures when it was listed before, I can find more and more value. So that's the whole idea, is for me to walk through the property and try to find more value in the property so that we can list it for the correct price. And when it all comes down to it, sellers can't really, establish the perfect price. I can't really establish the perfect price. The market sets the perfect price. So we don't look at houses that are pending. We don't look at houses that are up for sale. They could be up for sale forever because they've asked too much, or they could sell immediately because they didn't ask enough. The market will tell us what houses will sell for. Ultimately, you as the seller, you get to name your price, but you really want to look at the market data, because if we put a price on the property that is right where the market is, chances are people are going to see that and you'll get more offers, maybe multiple offers, maybe offers over asking price. And that's a perfect world for that price to organically go up. If you set the bar really high, people may look at that and look at the other houses on the market or that have sold and say, now that's overpriced, we're going to run into problems with that. So they may avoid your property because of that. After you get to a point where the property has been listed for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, buyers can tend to look at these houses and say, well, what's wrong with this one? It's been listed for so long. Or by the time you do decide to lower your price, if you've listed it too high and you're not getting showings, then people can get to the point where they're like, oh, it's been listed so long, they're desperate, so we can lowball offer them. So there's a strategy to everything, and we want you to totally be comfortable with your list price. And I don't think I've ever had anybody bark at my list price for them. I do my research and I try to find every bit of value that I can when I come up with that market number, a number that the market supports. And it's, like I said, it's up to you to decide what you want to list it for, but it's so important to listen to the market, and it can actually end up netting you more money in the long run if you do it right. So what we do here is we've established a price, so you're going to prep your home. So typically, in a perfect world, it takes up to 2 weeks to get a house on the market. In a perfect world, you and I will have our meeting on Wednesday. Thursday, I have my photographer come out and take beautiful professional photography. On late Thursday or Friday, I've officially put it onto the market. And Saturday, Sunday, we would have maybe an open house, either Saturday or Sunday, if you're comfortable with it. And that just gives us the best chance and the most eyes getting onto the property, and the best chance of getting offers right out the gate where you can accept an offer and feel really good about the price you're getting. So that's part of it. Let's see here. Then we will, then of course, before the photography, we got to spruce it up a little bit. So anything you can think to do to beautify the property, run it through with me. Sometimes people try to spend a ton of money rebuilding something or fixing this or that, and I'll be able to tell you if that's going to affect if that's really going to affect the buyer's image on the property. So we'll walk through the property and I'll say, before we have a showing, you may want to have a lawn guy come out. If you don't have a lawn guy, I have a lawn guy. Before we start showings, you may want to touch up the paint over here and over here. You want to take down as many like personal pictures and things as you can. And that's no offense. You have a beautiful family, no doubt, but the buyer has to come in and see themselves there. So if you have all these pictures of you in your military uniform, love that. I love seeing that. But the buyer's going to come in and be trying to figure out your rank and figure out what you do for a living and looking up your pay grade instead of focusing on the house. So by creating as blank of a slate as possible, you create an environment where a buyer can take your home very seriously. Because let's face it, we're all very curious, and when we go into somebody's house, we want to know, what is that award for? But I'm not going to be a stickler about this, but this is just something that I've found has been really helpful, and I've definitely had the buyers who are looking and trying to figure out the pay grade and you know what branch you're in, and it just takes away from the reason they're there. And so of course, like my husband's prior military, you know, we definitely support you being in the military, but the more of a clean slate people see, they can see themselves there, they can see, you know, what their future might be like there, and that's where you really get a good offer. So we officially go on the market and list it for sale, so it's officially on the market. I've got my sign in the yard. We're scheduling showings. What I want is, the best case scenario is we're just going to focus on a couple weeks of trying to be available and flexible as much as possible, and let's get this thing under contract, because then we don't have as much of this putting you out, so people can come in your home, put the dogs away, things like that. So we got to come up with a game plan where animals are secure, so you don't have to worry about animals while you're away. Any weapons, anything that you have in the house that you value, you're going to want to put that away, get that out of the house. We don't want any chances of any issues. The only people who will enter your property are going to be escorted by a licensed real estate professional. And so that's one of the things I do my best to, or I ensure, because nobody's allowed to go inside the house unless they're escorted by a real estate professional who's licensed with the state of Florida and knows the same rules, regulations, and ethics that I know. So once an offer comes in, we look at all the offers. If there's more than one, if there's one offer, we sit down and have a chat. I can do it through video or phone call or text even. But we kind of go over like what they're offering, what they're trying to, you know, convey. Sometimes it's over asking price, sometimes it's under asking price. Every buyer is different, and they're not really regulated as to what they can throw out there. So we just make sure they have a pre-approval letter or proof of funds letter, and that's my job to make sure that they are a qualified buyer and that they have it in writing before I present it to you, depending on what our listing agreement says. Then if we accept it, we are under contract, so we just have to allow them to come in and be able to do their inspections. So we got to be a little bit flexible for a few more days, and so they'll have their inspectors come in and do their inspections. If an issue is found, they may pose a repair request depending on what contract they put in. They may request that we repair something. They may ask access to the house so that they can fix it. So I'll help you navigate those waters as well. Then at some point an appraiser, if you're financing, an appraiser is going to come over and he's just going to take a quick look at the property and determine value, and that's something that can affect the price too. If we priced it too high and the appraiser comes out and he's like, hey, you listed it at $450,000, I value it at $350,000. That means we have a $100,000 gap. That's huge. So in order to finance, that gap has to be met somewhere. Whether they come cash out of pocket or we come down. But it's not something that comes up in every transaction, and hopefully we've priced it right to not have to run into that issue. So pricing it right can save you in the long run as well. So as we move on, the final details. So I'm going to check in with them, make sure that they are meeting their deadlines for, you know, getting information to the title company, making sure they're meeting deadlines for the earnest money deposit that they're supposed to deposit into escrow, making sure they're meeting their deadlines when it comes to selecting insurance companies. So I'm just going to be in close touch with the listing agent, or excuse me, with the buyer's agent, to make sure that they're on top of getting all their things that they need to do in order for us to have a smooth closing. And I keep you in the loop the whole time. I do my best to communicate with you and let you know what to expect, what we got going on, and sometimes there's nothing to report. because they're doing everything they're supposed to be doing, and that's wonderful. Then we get to the closing table. Closing day, we will, bring your license and we'll fill out some paperwork. Some people have to do this remotely. Some people have to do this in person. So we figure out what the title company wants you to do. And we fill out this information. We, of course, if you need to know what your numbers are going to be, like what your closing costs are going to be, I can come up with a net sheet for you, and that's something I do early on. You may have a mortgage. You want to know how much you're going to net after you pay off your mortgage and after you pay my commission. What does that look like? And so, trust me, when it comes to anything like that, I can set the numbers up where you're going to net what you want, regardless of any other fees that can come up. So I do my best to give you options when it comes to what you're going to end up netting, and to make sure that you didn't miss something down the line where you're like, oh shoot, no, I wanted to net this after everything was paid. So we work out a net sheet for you so that you can have an idea, plus or minus $1,000 or $2,000 of what you're going to walk away from the transaction with. I got excited about the net sheet because that's something that's fairly new, and I've got a great company that has every detail I would need to adjust it to be as close as possible. So I'm excited about the net sheet. But if you have any questions about the home selling process, I'm happy to help. I'm here to help. I try to make this process as smooth as possible. And we get this done. If you need to sell quick, let me know. There's a few ways I can expedite the process. If you don't have a specific date you need to close by, we can be a little bit more flexible with the buyers and maybe land a better deal, maybe land a decent contract from being flexible. So you tell me what you need and we get it done. All right, thank you so much. I hope this was helpful.